as we listen to the unfolding drama of the passion journey of Jesus and his disciples, it may be a little obvious that everyone involved in this drama each have their own roles to play, and each in their own way carry out their roles as successfully as they are able. From the frightened disciples who would scarp up when Jesus was arrested, and the soldiers who would beat and mock him. Even Peter, his closest friend, even he would deny him. And the religious leaders would accuse him. Herod then would treat him with great disdain. And finally, Pilate, the man who would then condemn him to death. These are the characters that we hear about as this story unfolds. The characters who revolve around those final days of Jesus' life in the world. These are the ones who would play some part in putting him to death. But there were others. Other people who play some part in this unfolding drama as well, of the passion, suffering and death of Jesus. These are those little people for whom Jesus time and again reached out through his life and his ministry. Unable to do anything about the situation as Jesus faced his accusers and his executioners. Still, these people would stand there in support of this man who had touched their lives so significantly. So as we listen to the Passion story once again, we see all of these people who would play some part in those final days of Jesus' life on earth. And there would be many. But there was one man in particular, one man in the midst of this drama for whom the encounter with the suffering Jesus would change his life. And that man was the good thief. He was sharing in the suffering of Jesus as he hung upon the cross beside him. But there was no mockery in his voice, no accusation, no pleading to be released from this predicament. Remember me, he said to Jesus. In his simple faith, perhaps faith in his God of love and forgiveness, this repentant thief at the moment of death opened himself to the power of God's presence through the life and death of Jesus, the man who shared his cross on Calvary. Jesus, remember me, he said, when you come into your kingdom. Perhaps for all that Luke had written about the many times that Jesus would bring healing into the lives of the people he met, it is perhaps this moment of encounter that has stayed with so many people throughout the history of our Christian tradition. That sacred moment when a criminal, condemned for his crimes, repents in the presence of his God. Remember me, he says. In that simple prayer, this condemned man hears the words that perhaps we all hope to hear at that moment of our passing from this world into the peace of the kingdom. Today you will be with me in paradise. That was the promise of God, offered to this man through those final moments of Jesus' own life. Even here on the cross, in the midst of the death he was facing, even here, this mission and ministry that had been at the heart of Jesus' life would continue to be effective as he reached out to that repentant thief, as he too would die on the cross on Calvary. Here, perhaps, was the purpose of the great plan of salvation that God had begun at the very dawn of human history, a plan that would then be fulfilled through the mission and ministry of Jesus Christ, Son of God and Son of Mary. Through this passion event that we have shared here once again, it touches our lives on this Palm Sunday. And again, we are called and invited to share that same experience of the repentant thief who hung upon the cross beside Jesus that day. Once again, his prayer from the cross can become our own prayer as we open ourselves to the power and the presence of God who would die on the cross for our salvation. Jesus, remember me. And that may be all we need to do to hear that great promise of God guaranteed to all of us. Today you will be with me in paradise.